"It's me," had he stretched and leaned against the wall. Pauline was a silent girl who once wept at a film about the effects of pesticides on butterflies, who wanted to redeem Auburn with her love. Now she laughed. "I've been phoning you all morning," she said. "Didn't your brother tell you?" "Listen," said Auburn. "I'll be at your place about 8, and replaced the receiver. Harold didn't return till after 6, and Auburn was almost asleep, his head pillowed on his forearm. There were no customers. Auburn's only sale was American Bitch. "Those American mags," said Harold as he emptied the till of £15 and a handful of silver, "are good." Harold's new leather jacket. Auburn fingered it appreciatively. 78 quid, said Harold and braced himself in front of the fisheye mirror. His glasses flashed. "It's all right," said Auburn. "Fucking right it is," said Harold, and began to close up shop. "Never take much on Wednesdays," he said wistfully as he reached up and switched on the burglar alarm. "Wednesday's a cunt of a day." Now Auburn was in front of the mirror examining a small trail of acne that led from the corner of his mouth. "You're not fucking kidding," he agreed. Harold's house lay at the foot of the post office tower, and Auburn rented a room from him. They walked along together without speaking. From time to time, Harold glanced sideways into a dark shop window to catch the reflection of himself and his new leather jacket. Little runt. Auburn said, "Cold, innit?" And Harold said nothing. Minutes later, when they were passing a pub, Harold steered Auburn into the dank, deserted public house, saying, "Since you got the clap, I'll buy you a drink." The publican heard the remark and regarded Auburn with interest. They drank 3 scotches apiece, and as Auburn was paying for the 4th round, Harold said, "Oh, yeah. One of those 2 nurses you've been knocking around with phoned." Auburn nodded and wiped his lips. After a pause, Harold said, "You're well in there." Auburn nodded again. "Yep." Harold's jacket shone. When he reached for his drink, it creaked. Auburn wasn't going to tell him anything. He banged his hands together. "Yep," he said once more and stared over his brother's head at the empty bar. Harold tried again. "She wanted to know where you'd been." "I bet she did," Auburn muttered, and then smiled. Pauline, short and untalkative, her face bloodlessly pale, intersected by a heavy black fringe, her eyes large, green and watchful, her flat, small, damp and shared with a secretary who was never there. Auburn arrived after 10, a little drunk and in need of a bath to purge the faint, purulent scent that lately had hung about his fingers. She sat on a small wooden stool to watch him luxuriate. Once, she leaned forwards and touched his body where it broke the surface. Auburn's eyes were closed, his hands floating at his sides, the only sound the diminishing hiss of the cistern. Pauline rose quietly to bring a clean white towel from her bedroom, and Auburn didn't hear her leave or return. She sat down again and ruffled, as far as it was possible, Auburn's damp, matted hair. "The food is ruined," she said without accusation. Beads of perspiration collected in the corners of Auburn's eyes and rolled down the line of his nose like tears. Pauline rested her hand on Auburn's knee where it jutted through the grey water. Steam turned to water on the cold walls. Senseless minutes passed. "Never mind, love," said Auburn and stood up. Pauline went out to buy beer and pizzas, and Auburn lay down in her tiny bedroom to wait. 10 minutes passed. He dressed after cursory examination of his clean but swelling meatus and wandered listlessly about the sitting room. Nothing interested him in Pauline's small collection of books. There were no magazines. He entered the kitchen in search of a drink. There was nothing but an overcooked meat pie. He picked around the burned bits and as he ate turned the pages of a picture calendar. When he finished,